A very good evening from Super League HQ. Fifey here, and tonight I am joined by someone who hasn't been on for what seems like a long time, but I'm delighted that he is able to join me tonight. Good evening, Dimble.
Good evening, Fifey. Good evening, boys.
It's good to have you with us, and thank you to everyone joining us live on the stream tonight. I know there was a lot of choice for a lot of people, whether you're watching The Responder or Trigger Point or Hunted starts tonight as well, or those of you absolutely binging Too Hot to Handle on Netflix. But we are too hot to handle in the Super League, and we have got all of the drama to go through. And despite all of that, Dimble is hoping for an early night as well, so we are going to be smashing through this. Mate, before we kick off the first game, just a quick look at the league table. You find yourselves in 11th at the moment, 5 points clear of bottom, but equally only 4 points below the dotted line. Is that a fair reflection so far?
Yeah, I'm surprised I'm still in touching distance. I've been pretty poor for a few weeks. I had a couple of good results, but on the main, it's been pretty shit. So I need a couple of players back, and I might be able to put some results together. But at the minute, I'm just kind of clinging on, and hopefully, when I do win a couple of games, I won't be too far back to have a shout at maybe pushing mid-table.
Well, you've got a very tricky looking game tonight away at Northern Burn, which, Ghost Games permitting, will be our grand conclusion for the show. There is one game in particular, though, that I want to start with, if it's all right with you, and it is this one. It is the Battle of the New Bosses, and on a day where Everton have appointed Frank Lampard, we get to welcome back Martin. And for those of you who have seen the news over the last couple of days, Swanee was offered the job after his caretaker role, took a look at it, decided that management wasn't for him. He wouldn't get the same level of enjoyment. So we are pleased to welcome back Alf Bridge as well to the hot seat as they take over Gazelles and Leddersford respectively. Good to have two characters back in the league, Dimble.
Yeah, two familiar faces. Welcome back to both of you. Forward to playing against you, because I've not played against an Alf team properly, and I've not played against Martin before. So yeah, just it's exciting to have new people involved, even if they are old faces. Obviously, going to miss Dan and Duggan a lot, because
absolutely,
I think they were great. Yeah, good managers anyway. Great value. Put loads of effort into everything they did around the Super League. So definitely miss them. And for Swan, I mean, it's amazing to break Wood's record for shortest stint as a Super League boss. Yeah, well done to him as well.
And also seeing in the chat and having exchanged a fair few messages over the last few days, it's really good to see Jamie in amongst it as well. Very much taking a firm hand on proceedings. So good to see you in the chat as well, pal. Let's have a look at what Martin's done, and some interesting amendments. Obviously, it was the reserve swap week anyway, so he's taken full advantage to, as best as he can, make the squad his own. He's gone with a variation of a 4-1-3-2 and some interesting names. So Cech makes his Gazelles debut in goal. We also have Mourinho making his second appearance of the season at centre-back. We've got Carve with his second appearance of the season as well. Pinardi making his first appearance of the campaign. Lots of changes. Deco wasn't even given a squad number. Has done quite well in the reserves this season. He's back in the fold as well. What do you make of this Gazelles team?
Very interesting. There's a couple of players there that shouldn't play well, because I don't like them at all. But then if I say their names, they're going to score. So I don't want to do that to Alf. Yeah, I knew Martin would do something more unique to the Super League, so I'm not surprised to see kind of four at the back. Mm-hmm. A couple of those players I would not be starting, and not in those positions either. But I'm interested to see how it goes, because obviously Martin's run the rule over all our teams for a couple of years, and it'd be good to see how he gets on himself. And I'm sure the boys will be first to kind of dig him out if when things start to go wrong or right.
Forlan's back in the fold as well. He gets a place on the bench. And interestingly, Vieri, who's been skipper all year under Duggan, has been replaced by Rio Ferdinand with the armband. A player who's been widely criticised for underperforming this year.
Yeah, and he has been absolute shit, hasn't he? But those stats, those attributes are unbelievable. Maybe giving him the armband with his influence 20, maybe it'll give him a bit of a boost. Vieri's not been excellent so far. He's been probably average for a Super League striker. Well, below average probably. So yeah, maybe taking the armband off him might even help him. You never know. It's all about getting those crosses and the ball up to Vieri though, and with the fullbacks so far back on the pitch, it might be a bit more difficult than you'd usually see.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at what Alf's come up with then. Similarly, he's gone with an adapted 4-1-3-2. So a more familiar looking team, although some questions when he posted it on social media about Patsazoglu playing at centre back. Good to see Ambrosini keeping his place. He wasn't in the team at the beginning of the season, but he was one of the more standout players towards the end of Dan's tenure. Hargreaves playing at left wing back is an interesting choice. Nikiforenko continues to feature despite being widely criticised and described as the worst Nikiforenko anyone's ever seen.
Yeah, and he's looking particularly bad this save, isn't he? Ambrosini, I love Ambrosini. Paredes has been a revelation. One of the best things Wood has ever done is bring him to Leathersford. Although this season not so good. Last season he was really good. Really, really high tackling and no assists. I'm surprised to see because I thought his passing was really good as well. I think this team looks stronger with Pat Satsoglu at right wing back and maybe Brown, or I don't know if Hugo's not fit, but yeah, him at centre back. So I'm surprised to see him at centre back. Hargreaves left wing back on. I see I was really short there, so it's one of them where he wants to play wing backs, but he hasn't really got one. A bit like I'm doing tonight for Churchdown, so can't fault him for that. But yeah, Scholl's always done okay in the Super League, hasn't he? He's getting a bit old now, though. He is one of the dad's army, I think, if you look at his age.
Yeah. And I know that there was other talk about the fact that Van Nistelrooy was starting, who would be the obvious choice to start when you look at his abilities and his stats. But when you've got more tried and tested players like Constantinu, who has actually scored this year on the bench, and I was disappointed to see Wes Brown, who we'd called for. I think Ryan was the other one who called for him to be starting a lot more regularly. New managers come in and straight away put him back on the bench.
Yeah, he's looking really strong, isn't he? And he's played well when he's had a go so far this season. So yeah, it is a surprising one. But one thing Alf usually does is kind of get ratings out of players, even when you wouldn't expect him to. So yeah, it won't surprise me to see Pat Satsoglu get a decent rating tonight.
So two brand new managers to their teams. What is if you're able to even attempt to predict this one, what are you thinking?
It's a tough one to predict because we've never seen these teams before. But looking at the two teams on paper, I would say an away win. So yeah, I would go kind of 2-1 to Leathersford. I'm not sure what I put in Swan's predictions, but it was probably along them lines.
Okay, let's kick off the first game of the evening. And it looks like Gazelles have started the quickest. Penardi with a chance there. And he looks certain to score, but doesn't. Alf predicting that he's going to win 2-1 with the first one in the chat. A yellow card for Patsazoglu. Leathersford very much coming back into it. And there is the goal for Van Nistelrooy, who opens the scoring. As Ambrosini gets a yellow card, Ronaldinho gets a yellow card. But it is Leathersford who've taken the lead on 13 minutes. As both managers look to get off to a good start. Nikiforenko involved there, failing to create the opportunity to score. And both teams seem to be creating chances, the text suggests. But Gazelles, as has been the problem for most of the season, struggling to convert. And Leathersford make it 2, and it's Nikiforenko with his first ever Leathersford goal. To make it 2-0 just after the half-hour mark, and it's going to be a real uphill struggle now. It's 3-0. Paredes didn't even mean it. The man you spoke about in the build-up, Dimble, has made it 3, and this is not what Martin would have wanted to see.
the Ghanaian legend is Paredes from the AFCON now. That's a great half. That's a great half for Alf. It doesn't surprise me the amount of effort he puts into it that he's got them ticking straight away.
So, looking at these halftime stats, the thing that jumps out to me straight away is how different this is to what we've seen before from both teams. So, Leddersford, very clinical in that first half. Gazelles created a lot more chances than we've seen in a lot of their games this season, but it's the same problem for them, just not able to score. Then in previous episodes, we've described them as they don't create a lot, but they do score. This time they've created a lot and not scored.
Yeah, and the same with Leddersford. They've not had 6 shots on target in a half for a long time, so that's the change of managers work for them as well. No tackles being won across the pitch. That's the lowest tackle percentage I've seen from both teams. So that's interesting. They must be just walking through the middle. No one's putting the foot in. It's surprising. It didn't seem like 10 shots to Gazelles on the commentary I saw, but it was a bit glitchy. It was I was missing little bits of it, I think.
I'm surprised to see that Czech is not rating low here. He's got a 7 rating at halftime. I mean, I'm looking for it's average, and I think what we're going to see when we tick over to Leddersford is it will reflect with them getting potentially quite high ratings, because it doesn't appear, at least on the face of it, Gazelles are doing a lot wrong to warrant being 3-0 down.
No, it doesn't, but yeah, it's a tough game. But when you create 10 shots in the first half, you'd expect to be in the game, wouldn't you? And they're certainly not going into the second half. So, even if you lose this one 3-0 now, it's what does Martin do? Does he stick or twist? You don't know. It's when you've created that many chances, you think to yourself that actually, am I doing something right? But yeah, as you can see there from the Leddersford, they've got key players on high ratings. So they've got a DM on an 8, they've got an attacking field on an 8, and they've got a striker on an 8, and that's the difference.
And something I've noticed with both teams, but particularly this Leddersford team, not a lot of passing really being attempted, and not a lot of players with high passing completion rates either, to be fair.
No, nothing's. I mean, there's quite a lot of text, but nothing's really happened, has it? And it's just the 3 goals have been stuck in the back of the net. It looks like it's kind of poor all around, but I suppose it's two bottom of the table teams, and maybe just the confidence from the first goal has shot them on.
Well, it looks like in an interesting move, Martin is going as is despite being 3-0 down. He's not changing it at all.
I don't blame him.
Mac is saying this is serious rage-inducing from Gazelles. Just waiting for confirmation from Alf if he wants to change it. I don't imagine he'll want to at 3-0 up, surely, unless he's looking at the bookings, which he has.
Yeah, you might want to kind of save someone who's a danger red. I know Alf likes to kind of identify the danger reds for the second half, danger yellows that turn into reds.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if he made one just to kind of save someone's legs, or save someone from getting sent for an early bath.
Better leave it. One will be sent off anyway, he says. So no changes from either manager at half-time. Let's kick off the second half. And let's see. It can't get any worse for Gazelles, can it, surely?
You'd imagine.
Well, it can. Ronaldinho with his first of the season. And Pinardi's missing more and more chances every time he gets it. 20 minutes ago, this is definitely not one we're going to slow down. Martin will not want to see any more of this than he has to. Leddersford coming forward looking for a 5th. Nicky Franco, and there's a follow-up into the final 10 minutes now. Heading towards injury time. Will there be a consolation? There is a consolation. It's Smertin on 87 minutes, and there is the full-time whistle. I mean, one thing you have to say from both teams, that's a cracking end-to-end attacking game. 28 shots between them is a great start to any Super League evening.
Yeah, definitely. It's an entertaining game. You've got 2 kind of not negative formations, but they're not exactly attacking formations that have been put out, and they've created 28 shots. So yeah, it's a bit weird one, isn't it? Because if you look at this, if you was Duggan or Dan, you'd be kind of wondering where those shots have come from, because the formations wouldn't have kind of made you think, oh my god, yeah, why did I do that?
And Rob with a little sarcastic welcome back Martin in the chat, just for
yeah, exactly, yeah, welcome back Martin. If you didn't miss the league and miss us enough.
Let's have a look at the Gazelles then. Czech's rating, in fact, going up. Somehow Zayaleas getting man of the match, despite playing defensive midfield in a 4-1 defeat.
Yeah, he's got he's contributed lots of things, attacking and defending. So yeah, I can see why he's got a good rating. But yeah, to be man of the match in a 4-1 defeat is a bit bizarre, isn't it?
Absolutely. What I do notice is the attempted passes has certainly increased, coming back for that second half, and they did seem to. Well, they certainly were better defensively. They didn't concede anymore, but I suppose you could argue Leddersford probably took their foot off the gas a little bit with what the score was at half time. Let's have a
Yeah, that's
look.
usually the case, isn't it? That's usually the case when there's a fair few goals in the first half. It usually kind of evens out second. So I'm not surprised to see kind of 1-1 second half display.
No, absolutely, and it's a pretty much a near perfect away performance by Alf on his return to the Super League, and he'll be equally delighted that none of the 4 yellows ended up being sent off.
Yeah, everyone's on the pitch. Everyone looks like they're fairly fit. Everyone's got a good rating, apart from perhaps that Soglu's not got a good rating. That surprises me. But
Well, he's the one that we were questioning his position, wasn't it?
Yeah. And to be fair, it doesn't make a difference because you won 4-1, so you're bound to get one player that's kind of holding it back a bit. But yeah, Alf might want to look at that for future weeks. But yeah, congratulations, Alf. Well done. Welcome back. It's great to have you back.
Let's move on, and the game has given us a very interesting looking game. Dudley Hill in second, entertaining 6th place Fulchester. Dudley, who are 1 man short in the first team squad at the moment after returning their on loan player and not wishing to replace him with a reserve for the time being as they look at alternative options. Dudley go unchanged from last time out, which was the 3-1 win over Dragons. So no real surprise there. Obviously, when Steve comes on, he always talks very highly of you. I can imagine you're in terms of friendly rivalry, you're delighted for what he's managed to achieve so far this year.
Nah.
No.
Listen, I'm really, really happy for Steve. He takes a lot of stick. He's always been good at the game, or decent at the game. It's just this competition is very, very high level, and he made a few mistakes in the past, but he's kind of steadied himself off, and he's got some good transfers in, mainly from me, and he looks strong. He looks really strong, and he's talking about finishing 10th at the minute, which is an absolute joke.
Which is the same thing that Tato's being called out for each week as well.
Yeah, I mean, but I get it. You don't want to get carried away. You don't want to kind of. He's been top before. He's been top 3 before, and it fell apart for him. So I get it. The pessimist view is always the easiest one to take, but he should be getting top 6 from here with the players he's got, with the performances he's been putting in. So yeah, really happy for Steve. I don't know why he's got Mendonca in the squad still. He needs to just release him or something. Let's
have a look then at Fulchester, who interestingly they made one reserve alteration. Jan Vennegow Hesselink being promoted, Cisse being dropped to the reserves, but Hesselink isn't involved in today's squad. Ronaldo moves up front in place of Michael Owen, who drops to the bench. Rui Costa comes in attacking midfield, and crucially for them, Nicky Butt returns.
Yeah, and just like to say thank you for the £12 million that Gibril brought me at Churchtown. See you later, Gibril. And Jan Vennegow Hesslink's absolute dump as well, but he scored a winner against me in his debut. So he's probably his only goal in the Super League came against me in the 90th minute. But
no, he has got 2. He has got 2.
Yeah. Ronaldo up front is something that I would have done a long time ago if I was Macca. So I'm not surprised to see it. I'm a bit wary that he's playing up front, because if he can get Ronaldo firing, because if he can get that striker firing in general, but if it's Ronaldo, then it's going to be very, very fucking bad news for the rest of the league, because behind it, he's got a very, very good team.
And we've got the much fancied Fulchester away strip out again for this one. What's your score prediction, please?
I'm expecting a draw. I'm just going to say Fulchester to nick it, though. That's probably just the way kind of Super League kind of twos and throws and the patterns of the results, I'm expecting a Fulchester win here.
Okay, well, nothing happened in the first 10 minutes. Now there's a bit of action. Fulchester were first up, but Dudley very much back into it now. Maldini picking up a yellow card. He's a player who's picked up a bit of praise for his return. And there is Ronaldo just after half hour opening the scoring. This first half's flown by. There's certainly not been as many chances created as there were in the first game of the night. Just having a look here, Greasy said it would be 1-0 Fulchester as it is now. Alf saying 1-1, Ian Edwards saying 2-1. Dudley have created nothing at home, and Fulchester have had one on target and scored it.
Yeah, a bit of a non-event really, but
not much for us to digest here.
No, not much. We probably shouldn't discuss it for too long, but I did say Ronaldo up front I liked, and I'm not surprised to see him doing well there. I think it's something I would have tried a while ago if I was Mac. I don't know why he's persisted with him at AMC. He's doing okay there, but he's got other AMCs that can come in and do good things. So yeah, I think if they can get a striker that fires, then yeah, like I said, it's going to be bad news for everyone else. Whereas Dudley, yeah, he's not going to be happy with that.
No, not at all. And I mentioned Maldini as we kicked off the game, saying that he'd been getting a bit of praise for his return to something that resembled form since his move to Dudley, and he's got himself a yellow card and a 5 half-time rating. Are you expecting? I mean, I'm not surprised at all to see that I've clicked over to Fulchester and Nicky Butt is already rating a 9. It's just what he does for Fulchester.
Yeah, he's absolutely immense. In this save, he's been absolutely unbeatable, hasn't he? When he's on the pitch, nothing gets past him, and he gets 8s, 9s every week. So much so that he's making Igor Biscan look like he's doing nothing next to him, so he's got a 6. So what's Steve doing here? Sorry, I can't see the comments.
So Steve is bringing Gareth Southgate on for his debut in place of Maldini.
That's sensible, yeah. Southgate's a solid player, and for some reason Steve inexplicably put him in the reserves to start the season, didn't he? But the fact he didn't start the season himself.
Just waiting for Maka to confirm. No, there it is. No changes for him. Unsurprising. Let's see if the second half can be a bit more entertaining than the first. Although Mac will be quite happy for absolutely nothing to happen. Veron getting involved early doors but failing to convert. And then Dudley with a chance themselves, but it went wide. A few more chances being created, it would seem, by both teams. As we just passed the hour mark, Ronaldo with another attempt. And Nedved and Veron, and it's all the names Mac will be wanting to see, but they just can't seem to kill this game off. We'll slow it down a little bit. Steve won't be happy that 10 minutes have gone by there with absolutely nothing happening at all. Booth on the goal kick, but Dudley pick it up and go on the counter. And it's Del Piero. It's just wide from Del Piero. Here come Dudley again. They're looking for the equaliser. Free kick over to Fulchester. It's going to be 3 minutes added on. And it's 2-0 to Fulchester. And it's Ronaldo again. Oh, it's been disallowed. Giggs had strayed offside. Dudley are still in this if they can create that one last big chance. No. Full time. And it ends Dudley Hill 0, Fulchester 1. Dudley created, it seemed like they created a bit more than that. But Fulchester deserving of the victory.
Yeah, 100%. That was a classic, old school Fulchester win, that 1-0. Shut the opposition out and looked comfortable for most of the game. This season and last season, to be fair, they were very high scoring games all around for them, which was unlike them. But that's more like the Fulchester I remember when I first started watching the league.
No, absolutely. Zanetti picking up man of the match for Dudley. Southgate coming on and maybe having a slightly better impact. Although, to be fair, he's not really done anything Maldini didn't than not get booked.
Yeah, that's two man of the matches for players on the losing side. Yeah, and both in performances that didn't look convincing, as good as the other side. Yeah.
There is positives to take from Dudley, and they have worked their way into a position where a defeat isn't too damaging for their top 6 chances. In fact, if anything, it just closes the gap a little bit more, but they're still well above the dotted line. I don't think Steve will be too worried. Do you?
No, he shouldn't be. I know he has got the kind of tendency to overthink things and overreact sometimes. But I've been on him so far this season just to kind of stay level-headed, make tweaks, but don't make any kind of wholesale changes. And so far he's been doing exactly that. And I can't see him kind of changing his approach now. And yeah, look at that. The ratings don't look as good as the performance.
No, this is very similar to what we said about the Leddersford in the last game. It looks a virtual perfect performance, but there's no sort of standout players as such there. I think when you look at the two in comparison, it just looks like Fulchester did the same as Dudley, but a bit better.
Yeah, it's a good performance, but what we saw on the text suggested there was him kind of more control than that. And yeah, a few eights, which is fine. Ronaldo looks really good up front. So yeah, I expect him to be playing there from now on.
Well, congratulations to Maka, commiserations to Steve. That's 2 away wins in a row, which we don't want Burn versus Churchtown next. Let's go to Haggis versus Dragons. And Ian has reverted to putting Alan Smith back up front. You might remember that he started one game, scored 2 goals, and then mysteriously got dropped. Although, in fairness to that, Shevchenko, who replaced him, did get his first of the season. So he scored, and now he's been dropped, and Smith's come back in.
Yeah, I mean, you can see why he's brought him back in. Shevchenko's he's an amazing player, but he's not consistently scored goals. So Smith might be worth a point at this point in the save. He looks strong.
Yeah,
he's performed when he's got the chance so far this season. So I can see why he's done it. I don't like Reed in AMC, but I don't think he's got many options at AMC.
This is actually what I was going to ask you, because this is a player in recent games Ian's been quite happy to play and doesn't look like, for the players who get tweaked ever so slightly, he's the one player recently who doesn't look like he's getting dropped at all.
Yeah, which is surprising considering he was loaning them out after no games of the season, and he's now playing most weeks. He looks okay. I just had him loads of times on home saves, and he's always kind of a 7 merchant. I wouldn't trust him in the Super League, but he's a good player to have about the place for sure.
Mayer has also come in recently, replacing Helguera, and he keeps his place again after a couple of decent performances.
Yeah, well, he's blessed in the DMC kind of area, and it does seem whoever he puts in there plays well, and Mayer has been one of them. He's been pretty solid.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at what the Dragons have done. They've made a few squad alterations with it being reserve week, and Jamie has tweaked it, and we're seeing Cliver and Morientes unleashed as a 2 tonight.
Yeah, interesting to see. Both very good strikers. I like both of them. I like the whole 11 apart from maybe Lysan's, who is okay. His stats are looking okay in here, but they must have better options than that around, or they just got injuries in that position.
Well, I mean, when you can consider they've got Carrick, who hasn't featured yet this season. They've promoted Stankovic up as well from the reserves. But they've made quite a few changes. Interesting that Back only gets a place on the bench.
Yeah, he's been a bit crap this season, but he's the kind of talisman. So to see him on the bench is a surprise. I mean, the Lysan's call, it could be a good one. He's worth giving a go, isn't he? He's worth a shout. He might perform really well. He's got okay stats, and I know he can be okay sometimes. So he might be like a bit of a Soroczynski type figure if he kind of gets cracking. He might produce the good ratings.
So now you've seen both of these teams. What is your score prediction for this one, please?
I went 1-1, I think, in the prediction, so I'll stick with that one on this occasion. 1-1.
1-1. Let's kick off then and see if you are correct. Haggis with a couple of they had a couple of early chances, and then we're pretty much at half time. But as I say that, Cliver does open the scoring for the away side. It's 1-0, and this could be another one of those nights where it is great to play away. Half time.
I hope so.
Dragons, look at that. 1 shot on goal, 1 on target, 1 scored. I mean, it's got to half time at the same time as it took Alf to type his prediction. Haggis shading it, although you couldn't tell by the commentary because it looked like nothing happened all half, but failing to convert any of their free chances. Let's have a look at their individual stats. Not surprising when he's only had one shot against him to see the goalkeeper rating a 5. It was Smith hasn't had any chances created for him yet. Rosicky and Mendieta and Duff are the men who had the shots for Haggis. Are you expecting Ian to change it, or say it can't be sort of that quiet again, and just back his 11 that he sent out to do the job?
I'm expecting a change just because the flow of the game's been kind of there's been nothing. Yeah, if you click on the match report, see how much text there actually was. Sometimes it's on one page. It seemed like a one pager.
If it wasn't for the goal, it would have been a one pager. I mean, look at that. Between 5 and 41, nothing happened.
Yeah, it was amazing. I looked down at my phone to see comments on YouTube. Looked up and it was 1-0 in 43 minutes. So that's how quick it was. Yeah, I think Haggis probably do need to make a change. Dragons will be happy just to be in front. I don't think you take Davids off, even though he looks a bit dodgy in that situation.
Surprising to see him looking so low in terms of the rating, but I suppose that they haven't really done much to warrant higher ratings, have they? Greasy points out in the chat, look at their offsides, 10 offsides in that first half.
Yeah, well, where were they? Because we didn't see them in the text, did we?
Ian is bringing Shevchenko on for Rosicky at half-time. Yeah,
it's understandable, even though Shevchenko is absolutely fucking dire at AMC, but he's worth a shout, definitely. I don't disagree with this up, but it's just in general, he's not very good there.
And just while we wait for Jamie to confirm, would you be changing it up, maybe bringing back on?
I mean, he could do. Cole's not done much. I wouldn't take Davids off, even though he's on a 5. If he gets sent off being on a yellow, you can always go one up front and drop a defensive player in the middle. So, yeah,
it is the one you suggested. Jamie's confirmed. Cole off, back on.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, you 1-0 up. I think back gives you a bit of a... He's probably a bit more solid. He works harder and stuff. I think he's like work rate and his right hand column are better than.
And it looks like they're playing on the counter as well, so his physicality might help with that.
Yeah, he's a physical lad and he works hard. So Cole's the opposite of that, really.
We've kicked off the second half and already virtually just past the hour mark. It looks like Haggis are still slightly shading it, but failing to create that killer chance. I mean, I slow it down more because the result isn't confirmed as opposed to the action. Smith having a chance, and now Reed, but saved. Davids picks it up. And it's still Haggis streaming forward looking for the equaliser. Shevchenko, no, it's a corner, and the keeper claims the ball. Again, Haggis coming forward, but now Dragons on the counter. Emerton, Gattuso, Davids. And Davids is saved. It falls to Davids again, and Clivert and Davids, they seem to take it off each other without failing to score a rebound. Free kick to Haggis, Mendieta and Shevchenko into the final 10 minutes now. And here come Haggis again. And it's Ashley Cole, and it's pushed away. Good save. Caught another corner for Haggis. And another one. And this time Dragons do retain possession. 5 minutes plus injury time to go. Certainly more action in the second half, but Haggis just failing to make their dominance count. And now on the counter again, Gattuso, Jeremy's back. And Davids picks it up. Now into injury time. And another away win, as it's Haggis 0, Dragons 1. Congratulations to Jamie. Commiserations, Ian. I mean, it felt to me like both sides, but particularly Haggis created a lot more in that second half than the stats suggest. But it was one of those where they could play all night and they just weren't going to score.
Yeah, I agree. It looked like one of them games that was a bit poor in quality. Obviously, we couldn't see it with our eyes, but the spreadsheet suggested that it was a bit poor in quality, loads of offsides, loads of free kicks, lots of stoppages in play, that type of thing. So, yeah,
very bitty.
Happy, but if you're Dragons, you're delighted with the 1-0 away win because it's an away win in the Super League, which maybe not tonight, but in general, are very hard to come by. And Haggis' inconsistent start to the season continues. I mean, they look good, they look crap, they look good, they look crap. So I think Ian will be frustrated with that, especially at home against a team that's not done much against them.
And the thing with that inconsistency is we're in the realms now where we can't even keep referring to it as an inconsistent start because we're nearly at the halfway point of the season. It's got to become a concern.
He needs to find the formula because he looks like one of the only ones that can gate crash that kind of 6 at the minute. So if he wants to do that, he needs to find the formula that's going to do it every week.
It was largely a decent performance by Haggis. There wasn't a lot wrong with it as such. Like I say, it was just a failure to score. Smith performed admirably. He just didn't have he only had one shot on goal. He would have wanted a lot more created for him than that. Shevchenko didn't get any shots on goal in his 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get that many chances that you saw in the game. It's not like he's missed a load. Both of those are good strikers. If you play both of those up front for most teams in the league, they would get a few goals. So Ian needs to kind of decide what he's going to do, stick with it, and see if you can get more chances to those forward players rather than saying Smith's got a 6 or 7, I'll take him out and put Shever in next week, and then he does the same thing. So I think the problem for Haggis is behind that front man for me.
No, absolutely. Gattuso picking up man of the match for Dragons. As you said, they'll be delighted overall with the result. And again, a pretty solid looking performance. David's rating went up from where it was at half time. Back didn't really have too much involvement, but he did a bit, particularly passing wise, and he threw a few tackles in as well, defending from the front.
Yeah, I think that formation that Dragons played, it can be difficult to get anything out of those middle two, the MC and the AMC.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like playing it myself, even though you obviously 2 strikers on the pitch, you've got a chance of scoring, but it can be difficult to kind of get hold of the ball, do anything with those players. But the rest of the teams performed really well. Loads of 8s, loads of tackles, all that stuff. So yeah, Jamie will be delighted with that.
And that brings us on to a very interesting looking game between Spartak Sloths and Bostock Stanley. One change it is for Sloths as Montoris replaces Pizarro. Oh, sorry, no, it's 2 changes because Van der Sar also comes in today for his first appearance of the season. He replaced Ningmatulin in goal. Last time out was the win, obviously, over yourselves. So are you surprised to see him change it up?
Yeah, I'm surprised to see him change it after such a convincing win. But Rob, I don't doubt anything Rob does, to be honest. Even though sometimes you put it in the comments, you say, "Why are you doing that? Why is he playing this player? Why is he playing that player there?" All those things. He just seems to fucking get goals, and he'll get something out of these players. So yeah, I've got no right to question anything that Rob does. I think he's a bit of a genius when it comes to this game.
Well, speaking of people
maybe mistakenly say, maybe he don't mean it, but he is.
Speaking of people who are a genius at the game, you were saying about how difficult away wins are and winning streaks are. Bostock have currently on a 4-game winning run where they haven't conceded a goal. So unsurprisingly, no real changes for them, although Saviola does come in for this game. He replaced Gonzalez, Robbie Keane taking his place on the bench. Other than that, it remains the same.
Yeah, they look solid, really solid. And I was one of the people at the start of the season that I didn't doubt the business, but I questioned kind of what difference it would make to Bostock. But what he's done is he's stayed solid. He's got rid of Ndiaye. He's stayed solid, and he's got key passes, assists out of his wing backs, which is becoming more obvious to me now that is important with the way my season's going. But yeah, the business itself kind of underrated how good it was at the time. I still don't think it's a perfect team, but what I do know is Scott knows what he's doing with these players. He likes all these players, and he knows the formula to get most of them ticking. I think if anything, he probably wants to strengthen at AMC, but he's got some good options there still without having kind of a nailed on starter. He's still got some good options.
Well, unfortunately, it's decided that game warrants being at the end of the night by giving us a ghost game. And it wants us to watch Devils versus Hulls instead, which on paper should be a very good game. And I know that Hodgie and Jens were discussing at length earlier today the Hull squad and who's deserving of their place and who isn't, and who might be considered if they went to Devils, etc. This is the team that Jens has put out, which sees Viduka continue to lead the line with Crespo on the bench, Gerard and Malewski in those crucial defensive midfield positions. I know the chat centred around Campbell and Thuram at centre back as well. It is a very strong team on paper, and something of a surprise that they're not more consistent, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and Jens knows this. I don't want to dig anyone out because it's not my style. But yeah, Jens knows that he should be doing a bit better with what he's got. 'Cause he has got some very good players. He's done some all right business. He needed strength in the midfield. He's got that. He's got a better option at AMC. Crespo's not working for them. I don't know if that's Jens' fault or Crespo's just shit. But I don't like Viduka, really. I'm not a big fan of Viduka, but at least he can make things happen occasionally. If you know what I mean, he's a big lad and all that stuff, and he can be effective. I love Panucci. I'd pay any amount of money to get him into my club again.
Yes.
But the option at the time, I had a deal agreed with Jens, and he kind of alluded to me that he didn't fancy the player that he was bringing in that much. So I offered him Panucci as a different option because he was after a right wing back. So at the time, I thought that was a better deal for me. And now I'm trying to put a team out, and I've got nothing on the right hand side. I'm wishing I had him back in a way. But fair play to Jens. I think he's done some decent business. The problem is he might have got rid of the wrong striker.
Let's have a look at Devils, who unsurprisingly go unchanged from the win over Fulchester last time out. I mean, there's not much to say about this team that hasn't been said before, is there?
No, they're just so strong. I love everything about the team. Like you look at it on paper and you think Kewell might be a bit of a weakness at left wing back, but he's not. He plays well there in that system. And everyone else on the pitch, 100% would be in my starting 11, no questions asked. And then most of his bench would as well. So Hodgie's got them. This is what we was expecting from Hodgie last season, in my opinion. But obviously, it takes time, doesn't it? When you get a new set of players, you put a few things out, you try some stuff.
And Jens has been very quick pre-match to highlight the fact that they are yet to get a result against any version of the Devils.
Yeah, and it's not surprising. Not many clubs have got a good record against the Devils in this save. So yeah, it's not surprising. It does make you feel sick though when you Jens go into the Devils with that record in the form that you're in. Jens won't be looking forward to this one. So I just hope that he's in the game and he gets a good performance, even if he doesn't manage to get a win.
One thing I noticed is these are largely low-scoring affairs.
Yeah, interesting. I think both teams settle usually with the 4DM, so it's not surprising. But I expect Devils to be too good for them. I would say by a couple of goals.
Devils by a couple of goals. Well, let's find out. And they've gone straight in at them and gone 1-0 up through Amar on 2 minutes. Jens will not, and it's 2-0 already. And Penza on 12 minutes. And Jens will be seething already, you can tell. Approaching half hour, and it's slowed down a little bit goals wise now.
Yeah. See you on Thursday, Jens.
Approaching half time, it's certainly Devils looking for a third more than Hull's looking to reduce the deficit. There is the half time whistle. Devils clinical, and Hull's not really being allowed to play their football, I would argue there.
This is what Devils have been doing. They've not been creating a shitload of chances, but they just look so strong. And the players on the pitch are always going to get you goals. And look how they're one shot they're giving away. That's kind of standard for Devils at the minute.
Yeah.
And that bank of four and the two defenders are just, they seem a bit impenetrable at the minute. And obviously the form will go at some point. But when it comes to the playoffs, you just would not want to play them.
No, absolutely not. Let's have a quick look. I mean, there's no one really not pulling their weight there. You might look at Emerson just because of his rating, but he's still producing passes and the majority are being completed. I mean, his tackling leaves a lot to be desired, to be fair, but other than that, all of his big name players, and Penza normally has a quiet first half and livens up in the second half. He's been a bit more involved than he has in recent games. Barry Ferguson, Van Bronckhorst, Dyer, all continuing to just do what they've done since they put on a Devil shirt.
Yeah, and Nesta's just holding it all together at the back. He's absolutely amazing. Nesta's got to be the top defender on the game for me. But yeah, it's solid. It's great. It's not spectacular, is it? But you just got no doubt that they're gonna do something in the match.
Correct.
Emerson at AMC has been really good, so I was surprised to see him. Basically, it's just because he's missed his tackles, he's missed his headers and all that stuff, isn't it? But to be fair, the 6 looks a bit generous with the actual contribution he's had.
Hodgie going as is, so Jens, who I'm sure would love to replace all 11 if he could. I mean, you could see there the obvious thing for me is the very low amount of passes his side have been allowed to do. I mean, Gerrard is offering something, but other than that, I mean, you highlighted Panucci. He's attempted the second highest amount of passes, so maybe they're trying to target Harry Kewell a little bit, but it's just not worked for him in that first half, has it?
No, and it's a familiar tale, unfortunately, for Hulls, isn't it? And Costanzo's thrown in a bit of a nightmare as well. Yeah, the attacking midfielders and midfielders of Jens are really struggling to kind of do anything in most of the matches that I've seen so far this season, and it's a bit of a worry. But Viduka on the 6, I mean, I'd be pulling him immediately.
Jens is saying, let them suffer.
Fair enough.
Evening, Mr. Mega Horse, who I've also just seen popping up in the chat. Good to have you with us, mate. Second half kicks off. Nothing happened up until the hour mark, but Devils have started playing again now. And it still looks more like them scoring next than Hulls. Unfortunately for Jens, Viduka picking up a yellow card. A little bit more white and blue text now. But as I say that, Devils created a couple more chances and possibly could have had a third by now. We're into the final 10 minutes. No point slowing this one down. Oh, we will now because Hersey has pulled one back with 5 minutes to go. Can Hulls snatch a point here late on? 2 minutes going to be added on. Soroczynski coming forward and Van Bronckhorst. It's a free kick. And then Penza has picked up what seems like his 27th injury of the season.
Jesus.
I mean, I'm just going to bring Kesman on and wait for Hodgie to say yes. Because there's only a couple of minutes left. In fact, I'm sure Hodgie's one of these people who doesn't really like making a sub with 10 minutes to go and would rather just play with 10 men, because is he not one that's mentioned about average ratings and that in the past if you bring someone on with a few minutes to go?
I'm not sure, is he? Yeah, I mean, I know there are people like that exist, but I mean, you wouldn't take the risk, would you? Surely.
No.
Surely.
Surely not, especially now Hulls are back within one goal as well. You want someone there to take the chance if it's there. And they have got a free kick once we return to the action. Just waiting for Hodgie's confirmation for Kesman. There we go. We can carry on with 3 minutes plus injury time. Dyer, Van Bronckhorst deflected and saved. It was almost an own goal. But here come Hulls, and it's Vogel and Hersey and Viduka. Oh, and it's a follow-up. Oh, Brozek couldn't score. And our Devils going to make them pay here. It's a free kick. Amar to strike it. Deflects off the wall. And there's the final whistle. And we have a home victory for the first time tonight. Devils, in the end, holding on to win 2-1. And Hulls will look at the way they've performed in that second half and think they were slightly unlucky.
Yeah, it's an encouraging second half for Jens and Hulls, but I still didn't get the feeling that they were going to score the second, even though it looked like it would in the text. It just kind of, he felt that Devils would hold off, and they did. But yeah, in terms of Jens' performance, it was a pretty shite first half. Second half, a bit better. I don't think he's a million miles off having a very good setup, but it's obviously not quite right just yet. But going to go into Devils away, very rarely ends in a victory anyway, does it?
And look at the numbers that all of these players have. They just seem to. They're one of the teams that can just pass the opposition off the park. I mean, they've got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players there with 30 plus pass attempts in the game, and most of them have got very high completion rates as well. They're all getting high ratings at the end, with the exception of Emerson, who wasn't able to improve his output. And I'm just looking, was it Tato? I'm just looking back through the chat. Yeah, Tato there saying relentless, and it's pretty much sums up what you were saying earlier. They just keep marching on.
Yeah, they look busy as fuck, don't they? Like you can imagine them sprinting on off the ball. You can imagine them busy as fuck, and you don't get that impression from the Hull's midfield and the Hull's kind of DM. So, not surprising result. Very good performance from Hodgie. Be very happy. I mean, he must be on a hell of a run at the minute. I don't think he's lost many this season, has he? And he seems to be winning every week that I've watched. So,
well, they've only won 2 in a row because they had the defeat to yourselves a couple of days ago.
I wasn't digging for a compliment there. I completely forgot.
But before that, you're the only defeat they've had now in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this will be 9 games. 1 defeat in 9.
Yeah, it's a great points return from 11 games. That's unreal in the Super League.
Quick look at the Hull side. Costanzo very much improved in that second half. Viduka was the weakest link, as you suggested. And as you say, that there are positives to take for Jens.
Yeah, he's got a bit more action in the midfield. So that for me is the key for Jens, is get that midfield right. So I don't think, if I was in charge of Hulls, I think I'd be playing the same midfield. So it's hard to say what he could do different. Maybe tweak team instructions or player instructions. But I'm sure he's tried that already. Sometimes I think it just doesn't work, and I might come on to that later when I talk about Churchtown. I've tried everything, and sometimes whatever you do, it just won't work.
Well, that brings us to Loco versus Astor. Kaluzhny suspended for this one, so Petit returns to the side. I'm 99% confident everything else remained unchanged, other than a couple of swaps on the bench. Loco, a side that no one can really put their finger on this year, started poorly, then seemed to have really turned the corner, and then went poor again. You know, it's just inconsistency with them. To see them losing 5 out of 10 is very un-Greavesy-like.
Yeah, he didn't lose that many in these first couple of seasons, did he? He was very, very low kind of losing record, as he went on to tell everyone. His win percentage isn't very good, but his kind of loss percentage is very, very low. I think calling Del Vecchio a trequartista is very generous, but fair play to him. I don't like a lot of these players, apart from, I love Zambrotta, I love Petit, I quite like Klompe and Barthez, and obviously Montella's a star. So I suppose I do like quite a few, but I really don't like Scholes, Seedorf, Figo. Del Vecchio, I'm a bit 50-50 on. Tonetto shouldn't be doing as well as he did first season. So yeah, Greavesy's done a lot of business over the years. And like we said, he does seem to make them slightly weaker over time, but you wouldn't write him off doing something still, because of his history. He's obviously got his wins medals to back it up as well. So I think.
Are you suggesting he's a Super League's version of Mourinho? He was good once, and now he's just making teams worse.
Yeah, it's the 3-year itch, isn't it? Yeah, Mourinho can't be anywhere longer than 3 years. So I think, in game he'd be going to another big club in another country and ruining them in 3 years.
Let's have a look at Astor, who have altered their tactic to #Tato out. Rayed moves further forward and partners Omri in support of ZZ Roberts. And the interesting one, Landon Donovan, who's been recalled from the reserves, playing in central midfield.
Yeah, am I the only one that sticks to the correct naming convention for tactics? Because #Tato out doesn't stick to the usual.
I've got bored of asking people to stick with the conventions, and I just try and make sure I select the right one, because eventually I'm going to get one wrong, and they're going to give me stick for it, but I'm going to be like, well, if you're not going to follow the guidance.
Well, I'll back you up on that one. Follow the guidance, lads. Come on, make his job easier. It's hard enough as it is.
At least this one says, you can tell who it is because he's put his own name in it at least.
Yeah, fair play. Donovan centre mid is a big no from me. He tried him out in Swemp and he got a 7, if I remember rightly. For me, that's not enough reason to play him centre mid. But he's not got many options there, so fair play. You might as well give it a go. He's it's one of the things. He's got a solid. The rest of the players are playing in the right positions. You stick him there, he might do something. Tato's performed miracles with what he's got. I think it's not quite as bad as people make out. His squad, he's got some very, very useful players within it, and a couple of stars, especially kind of defensive midfield and at the back. And then he's got Roberts, who's obviously absolutely banged from the minute he got in the league. So yeah, it's not a terrible team, but to have them kind of competing for top 3 is amazing to me, because the thought of me doing that is absolutely not there. I'm a million miles away from that. So yeah, I'm sure he'll get dragged back to the pack a little bit, but he's got a real chance of sneaking a playoff place this season, and that's fair play.
I'm not sure if it's astute tactical work on his part, or if it's just luck of the draw of how he submits his teams. But I also found it interesting that both Honcho and Scally played on the right-hand side last time out, and both got moved to the left-hand side for this game. It might be for no reason at all, but I found it I like to think that people are doing these things on purpose.
Yeah, that is interesting, actually. I'm trying to think. Figo plays right, so maybe he fancies Figo as more of a threat. I don't know. Interesting to see, though, yeah.
Alf going straight in with Loco 2, Astor 0 as a prediction. Romagnoli making his first appearance of the season, getting a squad number. What's your prediction, please, sir?
I think it will be a draw.
Okay.
I think it will be a draw. I think it'll be a score draw. I'm going to go 2-2.
2-2. 10 minutes go by again in the game without anything happening, but Astor certainly now the busier of the two teams. Tato saying 3-0 Loco. I don't think he ever predicts his own side to win. Both sides now playing their way into the game, and a follow-up by Loco, but failing to convert. Both sides now creating chances, but failing to score so far. Petigo's in the book. As we approach half-time, is there going to be... There is a first-half goal, and it's Scholes' first of the season. And Astor looking for a very quick reply, but they don't get it. So Scholes the difference at half-time. It's Loco 1, Astor 0. And look at the chances created by Astor. They'll be slightly aggrieved to go in behind, won't they?
They will, but sometimes these stats are a bit misleading, aren't they? It's quality, not quantity. But yeah, on paper there, it looks like Astor are very hard done to. And fair play to Greavesy as well, actually, getting something out of Scholes, which he's actually consistently done, because I really don't rate him, but he has done quite well for Greavesy. So fair play to him for that. It's another goal for him. So yeah, in terms of second half, I expect Astor to come back into it. I expect him to be strong second half.
Barthez putting in a very, very solid performance in that first half, getting a rating of 9. Montella, a quieter game for him so far, but he's particularly this season been one of those, if he gets the chance, he is likely to score.
100%, yeah.
Quick look then at Astor. Again, it's not been awful. It's just been a bit sort of meh, hasn't it, from their perspective, despite creating more in the overall match stats.
Yeah, it's hard to see where it's going wrong from those stats. They seem to be kind of tackling okay. They're just not had enough of the ball in the forward areas by the looks of it. So yeah, it's a tough. The Super League's kind of very rigid in the way that you can change things at half time. So there's not much you can do, is there? So he might choose to swap a forward player for another player, but it's unlikely to kind of make that much of a difference. But saying that, I do expect Aston to come back into it, definitely.
Okay, Greavesy is keeping it as is, and as is Tato. As you say, he'll be hoping his side can get back in it. We reached the hour mark with nothing happening for the second game in a row. But Astor now creating chances, still not. And I believe, yes, it was Donovan with his first ever Astor goal, brings them back into it. And with 12 minutes to go, we are level, and both teams now go in search of a winner. And it's that Donovan goal seems to have woken Loco up again. And it's Montella, and they get a free kick, and Figo lines it up, and it's saved, corner kick. And Petit scores, and it's 2-1 to Loco with his first of the season. And is that the winning goal, or have Astor got it in them to strike back again? Good Johnson, Soren, Rayed. And it's Donovan, but it's wide from Donovan. Can Loco wrap it up, perhaps? Del Vecchio, 3 minutes being added on. There's a corner to the home side. Frede heads it clear. We're into injury time. And Astor maybe get one last chance. And Salihamidzic is offside, and that should be it. It's a corner kick. There's the full-time whistle. And it does end Locomotive Boston 2, Astor Athletic 0. In a game where, as we said at halftime, Astor will probably come away a bit disappointed not to get anything out of that.
Yeah, you could say. I mean, if you take so you're looking at that and thinking, what more can I do? And he probably is as well, because it's similar situations I've had before, where you kind of get these fairly average players getting shots on goal, getting decent ratings, but you still don't win the game. So it's a bit of a hard one to take, but at the same time, he's come away to Boston, which is traditionally a very hard place to go, and he's put in an all right performance.
It seems to be the wider players who have got the lower ratings there, perhaps something that Tate will look at. But all in all, like you say, I definitely think that the overall performance was there. Again, a lot of players looking busy in terms of pass attempts and completion. And I believe, was it Tato again there in the chat that I just saw scroll past, saying that the goal came out of nowhere as well. It did look harsh on Astor. But congratulations to Greavesy. Scholes getting in man of the match. And for his 9 rating, his fellow goal scorer and midfield partner Petit also getting a 9 rating. As did Tonetto, who you said hadn't been performing as well as he had done previously. He certainly took that as inspiration for this game.
Yeah, fair play. Max Tonetto he doesn't look Super League quality, but he has proved that he is over time. Petit's been absolute boss, hasn't he? He's been so good over the last 4 seasons, so consistent. Really, really like Petit, and he's one that I would like to have in any kind of redraft that happens in next century. Scholesy, like I said, Scholesy, I would not take him if I can get rid of. If I drafted Scholesy and I had him, I would gladly give him to Greavesy for something half decent, because I don't like him at all. But again, he's got him playing, and he's done a good job for him.
No, absolutely. A very decent game that. And does that bring us to... Yes. So we now have the penultimate game of the evening, because we have the ghost game to go back to. So we have Northern Burn versus Churchtown. And I was quite interested when I saw the Burn team. So the tactic, obviously, no surprise, you know what you're going to get. But because of the unavailability of Lopez, who's actually been performing really, really well when he's played, Lundberg's moved forward, and that would normally have Keane in centre midfield and Vieira in defensive midfield, but Ian swapped it round this time.
Yeah, it is an interesting one, because I think if you look at the editor, Keane's more of a midfielder than he is a defensive midfielder. But Vieira is obviously very, very good in that role, like very good. He just happens to be one of the best DMCs on the game as well. So he's spoiled for choice, really. It can't harm his chances to kind of swap him around. I don't think it's going to make any real difference to the outcome of the match. So why not give it a go, see how it happens?
Nice and confident on your part there. Again, Ian also doing his almost weekly swap of the left back, just letting both of them play. Both play 1 week and then have a rest the following week. Lizarazu it is this time round. Talk us then, Mr. Dimble, through your team with the tactic name Churchtown Week 11.
Very, very good naming convention stuck to there. I like that.
You're one of the few people who made a couple of reserve team swaps and have also actually allowed them to play.
Yeah, because I had in mind to change kind of shape going forward as well. It was one where I didn't want to put Tim in the reserves last time. He just had a couple of bad games, so I thought I'd swap him. I had every intention of bringing him back up. Cambiasso was always going to come up if Powell didn't perform, and Powell hasn't performed. Who else is there? Can't remember. They're the two that I remember from bringing
One
up.
was because you returned your on loan Halls player as well.
Yeah, so I got a backup defender in, and Chadwick is close to being back, hopefully back for next week, which kind of changes the way my team looks, I think, because he's really
been
good
very
the first
good
few
at the start of the
weeks.
season when he played.
Yeah, and if he comes back and does that again, then I've got a chance of being all right again. But at the minute, I'm just kind of trying to tread water, not slip too far away. And today, I thought I'm just going to imitate Dudley Hill because Dudley have got a decent record against Burn. And I thought I'll do as best I can to imitate Steve.
The one thing I was a bit disappointed, although I do understand, is Hussein has been dropped now after scoring you a couple of goals. You've now decided no, he did a blank. He's not playing.
Yeah, he's not dropped, but I'm likely to play one striker, and I think Santa Cruz has done okay a couple of times. So I think
Very similar records between them.
Yeah, I think he deserves a run out. Santa Cruz was going to be my second choice striker after Palermo this season. So if you look at it that way around, he was unlucky not to kind of get the shout earlier.
Yeah.
But Hussein's definitely not dropped. He's just kind of rotated, just praying that something else works.
Well, I won't ask you to make a prediction, although it's pretty clear from what you said off air and on there that you're expecting Burn to win.
I still couldn't bring myself to predict against me in the predictions league though, so that's an easy 2 points for everyone else in the league.
It's actually Churchtown who looked to have started the quickest, and unfortunate not to maybe score one there, but they're still coming forward and perhaps caught Burn a little bit on the hop here. It still looks very Churchtown dominated as we approach half hour. And he should have finished it. And there's a yellow card and a free kick for Churchtown now. 10 minutes to go until half time. And I don't want to jinx this, but you've looked very impressive so far. 5 minutes now until half time. Yellow card. Looked harsh, it says there. And are Burn going to steal a goal before half time, Sigalko? No. 49 minutes now on the clock. And wow, how many minutes of injury time did Mr. Hester want to play there to allow Sigalko to score? I believe it ticked on to 49 minutes for that goal. Maybe it was just because of the amount of colour in the text. I thought you created considerably more than those stats suggest.
I've got to say, it's hard to follow on the Zoom is kind of like I'm getting one kind of screenshotting every bit of commentary. So it's hard to know exactly what's happening. But yeah, I'm happy to be in the game if I'm being honest, like brutally honest. I'm not expecting to win. I'm 1-0 down. I'm playing okay. I'm not happy with it, but to have a chance going into the second half is okay with me.
Well, let's have a look at the opponents first. And we commented on Vieira playing centre mid instead of Keane. He's rating 10 at half time. Very rare player gets that rating in just a first half performance alone. But he's winning almost all his headers, virtually all his tackles, completed virtually all of his passes as well. So you can understand it. A few yellow cards there, which may concern Ian a little bit, particularly with it being Cannavaro and Keane. But they're performing quite well. So surprised to see Robin being so quiet. Is the thing that stands out to me. But other than what he is doing, he's doing reasonably well. And I expect Ian to go as is.
That Robin 7 is a bit of a mystery, isn't it? What's he done to deserve a 7 there?
And there is Ian's as is. So let's have a look at your stats. And again, I mean, Davis has been busy, although you'd be hoping his completion of his passes was better. Stanic as well, very much involved. Looks like you're playing a lot more down the right than you are the left. Cambiasso's been quiet. Just having a look, Santa Cruz has only had one attempt so far, not managed to get it on target. He's the only one to fail to hit the target. Are you considering any changes there?
I am considering it, yeah, but I don't want to keep pulling strikers at half time because they're always going to get 6 if I do that.
Works for Fulchester.
I'm tempted to put Stanic right wing back, but he's doing a decent job up there, and then move Davis or take Davis off. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to roll the dice and not change this time.
Sticking with it. Excellent. Well, let's kick off the second half then and see if Churchtown can get back in this. Oh, Lundberg's made it 2-0 with his first of the season. And now Burn can release the handbrake and just fully let go. They've got that safety net. And it's 3-0. Sigalka off the post with his 5th of the season. And this is what you were fearing, that it would just get away from you.
Yeah. It's painful, isn't
it? It can be. 20 minutes now to go, and it's still Burn coming forward looking for more goals. Widely criticised, particularly by me in the first sort of quarter of the season for not scoring enough. That doesn't seem to be a problem anymore moving into the last 10 minutes. And it's Santa Cruz with a consolation goal for Churchtown. It's 3-1. And a claims for penalty not given by the referee, who I'm going to throw it out there. He seems to be quite biased towards Burn, in my opinion. Turning down penalties, lots of extra time so they can score. But
that's not me. That's the chairman saying that. So that holds some weight.
But Northern Burn emerged victorious. Not an awful performance by your team, Dimble. It's probably about what you were expecting, really.
Yeah, to have some shots on target and some of the game is okay. But if you give me 4 shots on, me 6 chances and Burn 9, you're always going to lose the game because we've got the worst conversion record in the whole of the league. So to win a game, we need to create twice as many chances as the opposition usually. It's frustrating. I'm just waiting on. I've got 3 players kind of out that need to come back into the team. So I'm hoping that those players will make a difference. But at the minute, I'm just kind of ticking over. Like I said, trying not to get my ass kicked and trying to kind of stay in touch with mid-table, so I'm not kind of dragged into the bottom 2 again.
Yeah, we did speak off air about the players you had missing and what was still to come from Churchtown. A quick look at Burn. Skalka getting man of the match for his 2 goals. A lot of good ratings. Mostly 8s. The lowest rating there is a 7. Couple of yellow cards, but other than that, Robin was a bit more productive in the second half. Vieira's rating went down a little bit. Interesting to see the condition dropping there to 64%. But other than that, not much to... very similar to what we said about Devils. It's just Burn doing Burn things now and carry on ticking over for them, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like that person, but I can't see this changing anytime soon. We've got 3 or 4 teams that are clearly better than the rest of the league, and to be honest, there's nothing much I could have spent 50 hours testing with the players that I had available. There's nothing I could have come up with apart from Wibwob that would have had a chance of kind of winning that tonight. So yeah, it's frustrating from my point of view, but we've got loads of games left. So if I can find something that works, I've still got a chance of being competitive.
Absolutely. Arguably John Terry's worst performance for Churchtown tonight. I can't remember a time where he's rated as low as a 5, no matter what the result for you. Khan continues to be the standout performer, and Stanic continues his reasonable form as well.
Yeah, thanks to Ian for letting me bring him in for cash. I had nothing to offer him that he was interested in, so I don't think he was that bothered about him. But that's an example of Mario Stanic couldn't even get in kind of Burns' top 28 players, but for me, he's going to start most weeks. I like him as a player. He just brings a bit more physicality, good in the air, and that's one thing we're definitely not good at is headers. We were terrible last season. We've been a bit better this season, but tonight we lost a lot of headers, and it seems to be important for some reason.
And interesting, I mentioned the fitness there of one of the Burn players. You've got Davis there dropping as low as 60. You've got 3 players there dropping into the mid-70s at full time. You're hoping that that's more because they've put the effort in throughout the game and it's not injuries when you get...
I can guarantee that at least one of them will be injuries, probably 2 of them. It's how it's worked for me this season. I've not been able to get my full squad together. So Davis is probably injured. Yeah, Tim started low, so he's probably okay. But Stanic and Santa Cruz, one of them will probably be injured. It'll probably be like an orange injury, but they won't be available for next week. I can almost guarantee it.
And that brings us back then to our final game of the evening, Sloths hosting Bostock, who we've already discussed. So just a quick refresher of the team news before we kick off. And I ask you for your prediction, please.
I can't remember what I said. It should be Bostock, and I'll say Bostock. Every time I've been on the show, I've predicted against Sloths, so I'll just keep doing that because it seems to work for Rob.
We kick the final game off then, and Sloths with an early chance. And Bostock take the lead through Lassisi, his first of the season on 10 minutes. And Zé Roberto scores an own goal. Bostock concede for the first time in 5 games. And it's still not even the opposition scoring it. Nearly half time in another half that seems to have flown by. And Bostock, and it's Anelka on the stroke of half time who puts them back ahead and looking for a third. Don't get it though. And Bostock deservedly ahead, creating a lot in that first half, and even scoring for the opposition to make it entertaining for the neutrals.
Sloths always score. They've got the best shots to goal ratio of any team, I imagine, because that's always the case. But Bostock look the better team by far there, so it's surprising that it's not more. I expect nothing different in the second half. Although Mantaras is still playing, why is he still playing?
He actually came back into the team specifically for this game.
I like some of Rob's backup striker options like Pizarro and even Sand in the reserves, and there's another one that I can't remember who it was, Batistuta even.
No, he's long gone. He retired. Seasons.
He retired, is he?
Yeah.
But he's got some good options up there, so it surprises me to see Mantaros every week. But yeah, like I said, I've said this about Rob a million times, and he always finishes above me. So
Scott already's going unchanged for the second half, so we'll just have a quick flick over to his stats. And
Nelka's shot percentage is above 90% for the season. He's got another 3 out of 3 so far. Unreal. So basically, every shot he hits is going on target so far this season.
Yeah,
he's in absolutely unreal form.
And imagine, I mean, he scores plenty as it is for Bostock, but if he was in a, I don't know, like a Northern Burn, for example, how many goals he could score then?
Yeah, I mean, he's got those 2 wing backs supplying him now, hasn't he? So that makes him a bit more of a threat. You'll see Cafu. So, but they've not done it yet, but on full time, at least there'll be at least 2 key passes between them. That's how it works most weeks.
I've not seen Rob for a little while in the chat. I'll give him 20 more seconds to tell me if he wants to make a change, or we will carry on as is. Steve asking, can Anelka come back to Dudley Hill for Tony?
I thought Tony was the best striker on the game.
Well, so I keep hearing and reading. Still nothing coming through from Rob, so we're going to kick off the second half. And it looks like Bostock are going in search, and they have, and it's Cafu who makes it 3-1. And Sloths are, well, they're starting to come forward again now, but Bostock don't concede a lot, and it's going to take a monumental effort for Sloths to get back in. There's 15 minutes to go now into the final 10 minutes. And Bostock make it 4, and I didn't see who scored that one. But Zé Roberto picks up an injury in on the full-time whistle.
That's the problem. You've got, and that's why when I looked at it on paper, I thought, yeah, Scott's business looks okay, but would you trust them to play kind of all those games with Caffrey being older and Zé Roberto a bit injury prone? So yeah, it's horrible to see, but it's kind of expected in a way.
It was Saviola who scored the 4th. I'll just wait for Scott to confirm that Phil Neville's fine to play the injury time. I mean, they're well up. Yeah, there it is, Nev. No need to slow this down. 4-1 up. Be interesting to see how long, especially on the same day that Mpenza picked up another injury as well. He's in that list of players always getting injured.
Yeah, I've got to say, it does seem the injuries are getting more kind of consistent and more they're happening a lot more recently, in my opinion. Anyway, I don't know if anyone else has noticed. And my physios must be fucking on acid or something, because it takes about fucking 10 weeks to get a 3-week injury back.
Bostock absolutely dominated that game.
Yeah, well done to Scott. Absolutely deserved. Nothing more to say really. Just looked really, really good.
No, very, very impressive. A couple of decent performances from Sloths. I mean, you mentioned Mantaras. He was one of the better players.
Yeah, fair enough.
Again, Matt Holland continues to be one of the more consistent players for Sloths, bizarrely, picking up another decent rating there. But yeah, this is the problem. Sloths can look good a lot of the time, but every now and then they do just come unstuck, don't they? And someone can really take them to the sword.
Yeah, and it's obviously going to be me they beat easily, and then next week they lose. But yeah, this is the problem with Sloths, isn't it? They're always dangerous. They'll always score a goal. He always gets something out of his players, but when it comes down to it, they're not quite up to the mark, are they? So
no, absolutely
frustrating for Rob.
And
he must have tried everything.
You mentioned when we actually did the build-up for this, there's a lot of the Bostock players are players that Scott trusts, and there's a prime example with Carlos Jacques picking up man of match with a 10 out of 10 performance.
Yeah, he's looking really good this season. He wasn't up to much last year, if I can remember rightly, but this season he started pretty well, and he's getting goal contributions now. I think he's going to be a big player for him. I think he'll be playing every week if he's available. It's just who plays alongside him. I think I'd be surprised if he wasn't keen in the long run, but Saviola's played tonight and he scored, so fair play to Scott for having those options as well.
Well, that concludes the action for this evening. Only 2 teams failing to score, and that was Dudley and Haggis. The full confirmed results then: Dudley losing 1-0 to Fulchester, Ledisford winning the battle of the new managers 4-1. Well done to Alf. Dragons winning 1-0 away at Haggis. Loco winning 2-1 at home to Astor. Yourself, unfortunately, losing 3-1 away at Burn. We just saw Bostock hammer Sloths 4-1 and Devils beat Halls 2-1. That leaves the table looking like this. Devils top on 25 points, 3 points behind our Bostock. Then Burn a further point behind. Dudley in 4th on 19. Fulchester 18 and Astor 16. Dragons a point below the dotted line. They continue to have an impressive season compared to last year. They're on 15, Haggis 14, as are Loco. Sloths on 13, you're on 11, so still only a 5-point gap between you and 6th place. Then we've got Halls on 10, Ledisford moved to 9, and Gazelles on 7. Thursday night we have these fixtures. Astor entertain Bostock. You're away to Dragons. What's your initial reaction to that? Confident or not?
No, not really. I've got a chance, but I've not thought about how I'm going to play. I'm hoping I've got good players back. Like I said, when I see my pack, I'll make my mind up, and then by Wednesday afternoon, I'll be fairly confident, and then by Thursday evening, I won't be.
Fulchester entertain Halls. Martin has another home game as he hosts Stees Dudley. Haggis are at home to Devils. Alf's first home game in charge is to Sloths, and Loco are at home to Northern Burn. A very entertaining evening again, some mixed results. I think it was Maka put in the chat a minute or two ago, some statement performances as well. As I just click through the player stats, Dimble, any final thoughts from you?
No, it's just great to be involved, and it was a very entertaining set of games. I think lots of goals, some obvious kind of results in the end for the big teams, but in general, it's going to be a good season. I just hope that the gap between the clubs doesn't become too far, and I hope there's more than kind of 2 or 3 clubs vying for those final playoff positions, because we hate it if it kind of got wrapped up too early. So yeah, I'm hoping that a few of the clubs in the middle of the table get on a bit of a run now.
Well, there hasn't been a season in recent memory that has been wrapped up too early. There's normally drama right to the end of the season.
Yeah,
and
there
long
is.
may that continue.
Yeah, there's not many Churchtown players in these screens, is there?
Dimble, thank you very much. Always a pleasure having you on. Until Thursday, then. That is it from Super League HQ. Thank you very much to everyone in the chat. Go enjoy catching up on all the excellent telly that we discussed in the intro. Dimble, don't leave it too long until you're on again, although I do know that you're moving house soon, so it may be a few weeks.
I'm not going to have any internet, but I'm not going to go on about it as much as Tato did, that's for sure. But I'll be on as soon as I can, definitely, yeah. Quality, thanks for having me on, mate. Cheers,
No problem
it.
at all. Thank you very much. And if you'd like to do co-coms with me on Thursday, drop me a message. But until then, from Super League HQ, it is good night.